Hello everyone, with the Jamaica here, and welcome to this updated video on weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Thursday evening, April 3, 2025. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video. I'd really appreciate it if you guys get this video up to 100 likes. If you don't know by now, that's how the YouTube algorithm works. We all like the video and then the YouTube algorithm pushes the video out to more persons who are in the path of these tropical systems so that we can keep everyone safe, especially during the peak months of Atlantic hurricane season, that's August through to October. Share this video with your friends, your co-workers, your relatives, and even your church brethren, and subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Please ensure that you all utilize the progress bar that's located at the bottom of the video, as well as the timestamps that are located not only in the comment section, but the video description, so that you can skip to the points in the video that you want to see the most in order to save time, because we know that the videos over here with the Jamaica can be very long. Leave a comment down below, letting me know what the that's like in your area recently. Also feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future weather in your specific area. Alright, so we're going to be taking a look at a post made by Philip Klotzbach. He's actually a meteorologist at the Colorado State University, specializing in Atlantic Basin seasonal hurricane forecasts, and from time to time he makes some very accurate posts throughout the years. If you aren't already following him on Twitter, you need to ensure that you fix that. So he made a post on March 20 highlighting the fact that on Thursday, April 3, they would have released the Atlantic hurricane season forecast from the Colorado State University. And what date is today? It's Thursday, April 3, and they did indeed release that forecast. And it states here, Atlantic season hurricane forecast from Colorado State University calls for above normal season. 17 named storms is what's being predicted, and we're talking about tropical storms, so anywhere packing winds from 39 to 73 miles per hour. We're expecting 17 of those. We're expecting 9 hurricanes. You know, hurricanes start from 74 mile per hour winds all the way up to 157 plus, that's category 5. And regarding the major hurricanes, we're only talking about 4 major hurricanes. You know, major hurricanes are basically anywhere from category 3 to 5 strength, so anywhere from 111 to 157 mile per hour winds. That's how many major hurricanes are being predicted for this year in general. And he attributes this to the fact that we have a relatively warm Atlantic and likely absence of El Nino. And he highlighted similar posts showing the progression of the Eastern Pacific Ocean to the Central Pacific Ocean, highlighting the fact that we definitely have the absence of El Nino. You know, El Nino has to do with the warming of the sea surface temperatures across the eastern to the central Pacific. This in turn causes more convection over this basin right here, and then this also in turn causes more upper level wind shear across the Caribbean and the Atlantic in general, making it harder for us to get rainfall, even storms. So he says that we're gonna be getting in on neutral like conditions, and we have the maps here to prove it. We're talking about the peak of hurricane season, August, September, October. We see the gray bar graph right here that represents neutral conditions. You also see the reds that represent El Nino, and we see that El Nino definitely has a very low chance of taking place. There is even a higher chance for the La Nina to progress even more, but right now the neutral condition is winning. And remember last year we had neutral conditions that brought us Hurricane Beryl, so we don't need La Nina for us to get bad weather at all. He also highlighted another post right here stating the Caribbean and subtropical Eastern Atlantic are warmer than normal, while Eastern tropical Atlantic is near average. The current spatial pattern of the Atlantic sea surface temperatures are similar to what we typically observe with active Atlantic hurricane season. So even although it's a bit cooler right here off the west coast of Africa, trust me, that can definitely change by the time the peak of the hurricane season rolls around. And he even highlighted some analog years. He stated that Colorado State University's 6 analogs for the 2025 Atlantic hurricane season hurricane forecasts are 1996, 1999, 2006, 2008, 2011, and 2017. So he's basically stating that based on how conditions are looking right now in 2025 and how it might progress for the rest of the year, it's basically looking very similar to these years: 1996, 1999, 2006, 2008, 2011, 2017. And if we actually take a look at what those years look like in terms of the actual storm systems, this was 1999, and we saw the patterns right here. Most of these storms developed across the main development region, pushed towards the northwest, passing to the east of the US. We also see one right here. I believe this was Wrongway Lenny in 1999, if I'm not mistaken, that pushed from west all the way to the Leeward Islands. We can also see the 2008 Atlantic hurricane season right here, highlighting the numerous storm systems that pass through. We see the blues represent tropical storms, the yellows representing hurricanes, the oranges major hurricanes for sure. We see one system right here that passed through Haiti, coming through Jamaica, 2011 right here. But most of these systems passed to the east or the northeast of the Caribbean. Thankfully, Jamaica was spared. And finally, we have the 2017 Atlantic hurricane season. That was a big year in general, but clearly Jamaica was also spared that year. But I do definitely remember that we got a lot of rainfall in 2017 though, so we have to be on our P's and Q's. Who knows, maybe we might just get a lot of rainfall if we don't get any hurricanes or tropical storms. We just have to wait this one out and see exactly what unfolds. Alright, so before we take a look at what the supercomputer model runs are showing for today, we need to highlight this post that was made here on our social media platform. It states here, Jamaicans are once again being urged to wear masks to protect themselves from dust-related respiratory illnesses such as asthma, sinusitis, and others due to the very windy conditions expected this week, April 3 to 5. And we highlighted a nice little image right here that AI cooked up. And we see the dust nuisance in general. Boy, we definitely have to mask up, because I'm pretty sure that you've noticed many persons have their allergies, more sneezing going on, asthma, sinusitis, you name it. And trust me, the winds and the dust that this wind is kicking up is the reason for it. So we just hope that persons are masking up, taking necessary precautions. I mean, think about it. Back in 2020 to 2021, when we had COVID-19 and you had to wear your mask all the time, were you getting sick? I surely wasn't getting sick. So it would be best if we all mask up, to prevent these illnesses. I'm not saying that it can't happen, but it definitely lessens the, the chances of us getting sick in general. Alright, so we're going to be looking at what the latest supercomputer model runs are showing here from the Euro and the GFS. So keep your eyes focused on the timestamp right here as we go to the next one, John 68 hours. Keep your eyes focused on Jamaica right here as we look for all of this that we see on the key on the right. That's the reds, the oranges, the yellows, and the greens that represents inches of rainfall. So let's see what's going to be taking place. Alright, so we're heading into Friday morning, and we see that there's going to be some rainfall across sections of some northeastern parishes, according to this latest Euro. Then on Friday afternoon, we see that rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes. What does the latest GFS show? Friday morning, northeastern parishes with the rainfall. Friday afternoon, rainfall across western parishes. And then, as we head into Saturday morning, what do we see? Some rainfall across eastern parishes on the Euro. Then Saturday afternoon is that rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes. What does the latest GFS show? Saturday morning, northern parishes, not eastern parishes like what the Euro was showing. Then Saturday afternoon, sections of eastern, central, and western parishes. So we have the consensus with that, but the morning not so much. Sunday morning, what do we see? We see rainfall right there toward north on the Euro. Then by Sunday afternoon, we see rainfall mainly across sections of some northern and western parishes. What does the latest GFS show for the same time period? Sunday morning, rainfall toward east. Sunday afternoon, as that rainfall across northern and western parishes. So just like what the Euro was showing. Very interesting. Let's see what Monday morning has in store for us. We see rainfall to our east, we see rainfall to our south on Monday morning. Then on Monday afternoon, look at that, the greens represent rainfall are all across eastern, central, and western parishes. What does the latest GFS show? Monday morning, rainfall to our north, rainfall to our south. Then Monday afternoon has that rainfall more so across sections of some western parishes. We see some dots here across eastern Jamaica. It's going to be interesting to see how it unfolds. And look at the moisture associated with that cold front across portions of the eastern US down into Florida and the Gulf. Very well down into the into northern Florida and the Gulf for sure. We see that both the Euro and the GFS models are showing that a strong frontal system is going to be out there by that time. Alright, so let's see what Tuesday morning has in store for us. Tuesday morning has rainfall to our south on the latest Euro. Then Tuesday afternoon has that rainfall across mainly western parishes. What does the latest GFS show for the same time period? Tuesday morning, rainfall to our north, rainfall to our south. Then Tuesday afternoon has that rainfall across sections of some more so western parishes than anything else. And then on Wednesday morning, what do we see? We see some rainfall more so across the Bahamas, Cuba, Western Caribbean associated with that frontal system. Don't see much of anything across Jamaica. Then by Wednesday afternoon, we see some dots of greens across maybe central and eastern parishes. But there's the latest GFS show for the same time period. Wednesday morning, rainfall to our west, rainfall to our north. Wednesday afternoon has that rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes. Very interesting. What does Thursday have in store for us? And we're stopping it right here at the end of the 168 hours, by the way. And we see that the frontal system should have made it all the way into portions of the southern Bahamas. Some leftover moisture extending into the waters to the south of Florida to the north of Cuba. Moisture extending into portions of the Cayman Islands as well as eastern Honduras. What does the GFS show for the same time period? We're talking about 7 a.m. on Thursday. We see that there's an abundance of moisture associated with that frontal system extending across Haiti, Jamaica, eastern Cuba, the Cayman Islands, Central America, eastern Honduras, eastern Nicaragua, all the way down to the southwestern Caribbean. It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out, and I'll definitely be here to keep you posted with what occurs. Taking a look at the total accumulated precipitation forecast maps from both the Euro and the GFS. All of these maps are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until Thursday, April 10. And we can see how colorful it is. We see the greens, we see the yellows, we see the oranges, we see the reds. That represents anywhere from 0.1 of an inch of rainfall all the way to an inch or more of rainfall expected for areas such as Florida, right up here, sections of Cuba, the Cayman Islands, Jamaica, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, the Leeward and Windward Islands. Definitely going to be getting in on the 0.1 of an inch of rainfall to an inch of rainfall. So too the Yucatan, sections of Nicaragua, and even the ABC Islands getting in on some of that. But clearly the most rainfall is wherever we have the dark reds into the purples into the pinks. That represents 2 to 5 inches of rainfall, and look at where the 2 to 5 inches of rainfall is definitely expected. We're talking about areas such as the Windward Islands. Look at that. Portions of maybe Barbados, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago, section of Guyana, Suriname, French Guyana, Venezuela, Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, sections of also northern Honduras, sections of Belize, Guatemala in here. And we see that it's not only the GFS that's showing this, but even the Euro model that's showing something similar. So there could definitely be some amount of isolated flash flooding taking place in those areas. So we just hope that the persons who reside there are taking necessary precautions so that they are not drastically affected. But regarding Jamaica's total accumulated precipitation forecast maps, we see that the rainfall that was forecast for eastern Jamaica is definitely dying down, leaving way for more of the rainfall across western parishes. Both maps right here from the Euro and the GFS are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until Thursday, April 10. And we see the blues into the greens. That represents anywhere from 1 millimeter of rainfall all the way up to maybe 30 millimeters of rainfall. But it's clearly the western end that's going to be picking up the brunt of the rainfall in the yellows, maybe up to 36 millimeters of rainfall as we see here on the Euro. GFS showing something similar in the western end. Hanover, Westmoreland for sure. That's where most of the rainfall should be accumulating over the next 7 days. I know that most of this rainfall is going to be taking place during the afternoon when we've had that daytime heating. Taking a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening, We can see that we have a ridge of high pressure up here that we know is responsible for sending the strong easterly trade winds across the main development region into the Caribbean. This is why it has been so windy. Blame the high pressure ridge. You can also see this blue spike line right here associated with a frontal system extending all the way down to the north of the Caribbean. And we can see another frontal system right here to the northwest of Africa. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before we lost the sunlight, we can make out the clouds associated with the frontal system extending down to the north of the Caribbean. We can see the clouds associated with that other frontal system right here to the northwest of Africa, and we can make out the low to mid-level flow of the clouds definitely pushing quickly. Look at that, passing to the south of Hispaniola and Jamaica. Look at the low level flow, some strong wind blowing through, and all of this is are caused by the ridge of high pressure to the north. We'll be talking more about the rest of the Caribbean later on. Let us focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Thursday, April 3, 2025. It was stated that rainfall would have been in the forecast of parts of eastern Jamaica on Thursday morning, also affecting sections of some central and western parishes during Thursday afternoon. I know eastern parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Surrey, like Portland, St. Thomas, Kingston, St. Andrew. Central parishes, I know we're talking about those parishes in the county of Middlesex, like St. Anne, St. Mary, Manchester, Clarendon, St. Catherine. Our western parishes, I know we're talking about those parishes in the county of Cornwall, like Hanover, St. James, Chilon, Westmoreland, and St. Elizabeth. And what ended up happening? I definitely woke up this morning to a soaked yard, so I definitely got in on some early morning isolated showers in my part of St. Thomas, so that indeed confirms rainfall in the east. Then clearly at around 4:35 p.m. the visible satellite images were posted not only here on our Twitter page with the Jamaica, but they were also posted on our Instagram page with the Jamaica, on our TikTok page with the Jamaica, and on our Facebook page with the Jamaica 876. So if you have one of those social media platforms, please ensure that you follow us there as we make posts throughout the day that you can't afford to miss. So we can definitely see that low to mid-level flow of the clouds being pushed from east-west by the winds, and we saw where the air piled up just as predicted across inland areas of some central parishes as well as across sections of some western parishes. And we can even see the sparkling yellow dots in there that we know represent some amount of lightning strikes, if not lightning flashes, that took place definitely across sections of southern St. James, northern St. Elizabeth, sections of Westmoreland, and even sections of southern Hanover got in on some of the thunderstorm activity for sure. And we see the upper level clouds being streaked off towards the southeast just as we predicted by that upper level wind shear. And we can see it all even better on the visible satellite images of Jamaica before we lost the sunlight. Definitely had some convection out west. Look at the cloud tops being blown off towards the southeast. And even while we were wrapping up the day, we could see that we were having some clouds starting to push towards sections of Portland and St. Mary, so I'm pretty sure that they were getting in on some amount of rainfall as the night was coming in, or the evening was coming in. And if we take a look at the infrared close-up satellite images right here, we can make out the convection even better. The sparkling white dots, first of all, they represent the lightning strikes, if not lightning flashes. Not to mention the blues into the greens into the yellows, that represents the convection burst, and then the cloud tops being streaked off towards the southeast by that upper level wind shear just as predicted. And we can make out the milky white shades that represent the cloud cover, some isolated showers coming into portions of Portland and St. Mary, maybe even as we speak. And if we take a look at what was taking place along the Bagwalk Gorge at around 2:47 p.m., we can see that it was definitely dry conditions for the most part. Overcast but dry. You can see people in their vehicles going about their business. And we can see that the rear Cobra is definitely chilling for the time being, considering that it is, not really that serious in terms of bad weather these days. And that should be the order of the evening into the next couple of days. And we have the total accumulated precipitation for the past 24 hours from the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology website right here, showing where we had that rainfall today. Definitely across sections of some eastern parishes in the early morning hours, then across sections of some western parishes and inland areas of some central parishes, just as predicted. And we have a few comments here confirming what the weather was like. More than likely windy as active 4081 here state. Even on our Instagram page, we had the persons confirming the windy conditions. We have Day Janelle underscore Remy stating the wind is killing me. Sean Nee stating almost blew away yesterday. I have Lil underscore Miss underscore introvert stating yeah, from yesterday some breeze a blow, you see. Swear up on the mountain midday. It was giving that one scene from Michael Jackson music video. We have official Mad Report. Oh jeez. We have Sassy Nikki .16 stating very heavy indeed. All on the toe of the car shift. We also have Edward Tanisha stating, oh gosh, in South Manchester it's terrible. A few of us got sore throat since it started. Not nice here. We have It's Just Carvel stating, I close a dry quick yesterday. All who have dryer, me no grudge uno one bit, you know. We also have Gardner underscore April 33 stating, from yesterday some breeze a blow. We start wonder if the hurricane season change. We have Chris 2538 LLC, Big Breeze. We have Z Rose 5. Boy, this sign was a kill me. We have Mrs. K underscore D. Rain been a fall on Linstead side almost every day. It actually rained there today though. And I guess that confirms the weather today, windy conditions, and the thing is it's gonna be even windier tomorrow for sure. I'm gonna be looking at the latest wind forecast shortly, but before we do that, let us reload the very latest still image from the Weather Nerds website. And the latest still image is showing 0045 UTC, which is actually 7:45 p.m. So this just came out 7 minutes ago, considering that it's 7:52 p.m. right now. And what do we see? We can make out the clouds that are still possibly plaguing portions of Portland, if not St. Mirren. Rainfall possibly dying down by now. Pretty sure they had some amount of rainfall as the day was wrapping up and we lost the sunlight. And unfortunately we still have a glitched out Cuban Doppler radar still showing April 2. Let's see if the Guantanamo Bay Cuban Naval Radar imagery was showing that rainfall that was coming into portion of Portland and St. Mary. There we go. Moderate to heavy rainfall in the blues and the greens and the yellows for sure that came in, just like what we saw in the infrared right here for sure, very much so. That's why we have to depend on the Doppler radar now. So we have the clouds coming in, had the rainfall coming in, so we definitely had some rainfall that affected portions of Portland and St. Mary before the night started to come down. And if we take a look at the Cayman radar, not see much of anything across western Jamaica, but we do see some isolated shores passing from east west to the south of the Cayman Islands. Regarding what's happening right now, according to See Jamaica's YouTube channel, very blurry. Yes, they're zooming all the way in. It's a bit too zoomed in. But clearly we can see people walking about, going about their business, people driving about in their vehicles, going about their business. And we can definitely see that it's strike times right now in halfway tree, and this should be the order of the evening. Taking a look at the temperatures right now, we can see that we have 26 degrees Celsius in both Montego Bay and Kingston, and by about 4 a.m. on Friday, temperature should be down to about 24 degrees Celsius in both Montego Bay and Kingston. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, this map from the GFS is valid for 18th on Friday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Friday. And we can see Jamaica right here embedded in grays and even some slight blues in there. I mean, look at all of the blues. There's a lot of blues across portions of the central to the eastern Caribbean and northern South America. That's what we want to see. That represents below normal temperatures. Maybe 1, maybe 2 degrees Celsius below normal. That's what we want to see for sure. But Jamaica should be in for a mixture of average to slightly above to slightly below normal temperatures for tomorrow. And we know the normal temperature for the month of April across Jamaica is around 88 degrees Fahrenheit. That's around 31.1 degrees Celsius. So we should be receiving anywhere from, let's say, 30.1 to 31.1 to 32.1 degrees Celsius at most for Jamaica's temperature on Friday. And we have some maintenance outage advisories here from my JPS Online's Twitter page to highlight. I know that we have to highlight this because we know that when we have power outages somewhere across the island, it can definitely make the heat feel even worse because we don't have our fan or our AC to cool us down. So if you live or work in these areas, or if you have friends or relatives who live or work in these areas, let them know that a power outage is coming their way on Friday, April 4, 2025. And I'm referring to Fustic Grove in St. Elizabeth from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. We also are talking about Gate of Hedge Hill as well as Mango Valley in St. Mary from 10:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Chambers Pen in Hanover from 9:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Wilson Shop in St. Anne from 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. We're also talking about Good Hope in Westmoreland from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And we have some tips right here to beat the heat, just in case it's a bit too hot for you tomorrow. It states here, when outside, seek shade. Eat fresh, try eating cold foods such as salads and fruits. Rest, make sure you get enough sleep, and rest if you're feeling tired. Soak, take a cool shower or bath to help you cool down. And I cannot stress enough the importance of staying hydrated throughout the day, even if you're not thirsty. Drink lots of water and put away those sugar drinks and drink water instead. Taking a look at the dry air map, we know that the dry air is represented by what we see here on the key on the bottom. That's the yellows, the oranges, the reds, and the whites, the industries. And we know the low end of the scale in terms of dry air is the yellows, and we can see that there's a lot of yellows across portion of the Caribbean, which explains why it has been so moist lately. We also see a lot of blues represent the most moist air across the intertropical convergence zones, eastern Pacific as well as southern North Atlantic right there. So it all makes sense where we have most of the moisture, but clearly a lot of dry air is plaguing the basin, making it stable, making it harder for it to rain, making it harder for us to get storms in general this time of year. But regarding the Saharan dust forecast for 18 UTC on Friday, which is actually 1 p.m., we can clearly see that some of the Saharan dust is entrailing across portions of the main development region into the eastern to the central Caribbean right here. And we like the fact that the more it pushes to the west, the more it dwindles. We're seeing more light shades of browns. That's what we want to see. Just in case it actually makes it far into the Caribbean near Jamaica, it has died down some more. We don't want to see this vigorous plume at all that we see across portions of Africa into Europe and Asia. That vigorous plume represented by the dark shades of browns can cause very hazy skies, not to mention trigger somewhat of respiratory illnesses in some persons. Taking a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, we're seeing that there are a lot of high waves expected. We see the purples, we see the pinks, we see the burgundies, representing anywhere from 2 all the way to maybe 4-meter wave heights for sure. I mean, look at that. Seas are definitely going to be choppy. North coast tomorrow up to 2-meter wave heights. South coast, 3.4. These are some ridiculous wave heights expected tomorrow for sure. Definitely ridiculous. Definitely 3.2 on the southeastern side, 2.8. Boy, the fisher folk are going to have a warm time out at sea, and that's because of the very strong winds expected, all courtesy of the ridge of high pressure to the north. Look at the strong east-northeasterly flow across the eastern Caribbean, more of an easterly flow across the central Caribbean, more of an east-southeasterly flow across the western Caribbean, and more of a southeasterly flow across the Gulf. And we see the intensity of these winds. We're talking about the bright greens, that's 20 knots, up to the yellows 25, maybe even gusting to 30 knots right here. And regarding Jamaica's close up with the wind forecast, we see a lot of yellows to our south. That's 23 knots, 24 knots right there. North coast, we see the greens up to 17 knots. Maybe the further out we go, the higher it gets. So 20 knots right there. Either way, we're in for a lot of strong winds. Even the GFS confirming the same thing. And we also see where the air is going to be piling up as usual across sections of some central and western parishes for sure, inland areas of some central parishes as well as sections of some western parishes. So we might just have a repeat of what happened today, because wherever the air is piling up or wherever we have the least amount of winds, that's where we could have those clouds building and then formulating that afternoon rainfall. And with the upper level wind still coming in from the, let's say, northwest, we could get a repeat of what happened today regarding the convection. Remember, when we had that convection, the upper level clouds were being sheared off towards the southeast. So we might just get a similar type of pattern tomorrow if we get more convection bursts out in the west during the afternoon. And if we take a look at the actual rainfall forecast maps now, this map from the GFS and this map from the Euro are both showing 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 7 a.m. Jamaica time. And what do we see on both maps? Blues represent rainfall across the waters to our north. Some of this activity may be across sections of Portland, maybe eastern St. Thomas, maybe even as far as St. Mary and St. Anne. We see that definitely on the Euro, but not necessarily on the GFS. We see it more out to sea. We'll say it actually plays out. Then by around 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 3 p.m. Jamaica time, look at where the blues are located across sections of western Jamaica for sure. talking about Hanover, Westmoreland, as well as a section of northern St. Elizabeth, southern St. James, southern Trelawney, northern Manchester, northern Clarendon, southern St. Anne, northern St. Catherine, as well as southeastern St. Anna. We see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in agreement with this forecast. So the chance of this happening very high. Even the total accumulated precipitation forecast maps are showing that it's going to be raining somewhere in Jamaica within the next 24 hours. The Euro going all the way up to 0.36 of an inch of rainfall out west. The GFS only up to 0.28 of an inch of rainfall. We'll see it actually plays out, and whatever happens, we'll definitely take it. We want the rainfall to keep the water in our pipes. And in Kingston, whose bar graph is being shown right here at the top, we usually receive up to maybe 35 millimeters of rainfall for the month of April. While in Montego Bay, we usually receive up to maybe 3.6 inches of rainfall for the month of April. And if you'd like to find out what your specific parish usually receives in terms of rainfall for the month of April or for the entire year, you can visit weatherandclimate.com and that website to show that information. And you can use this nice graphic right here that converts rainfall from inches to millimeters. You know that 1 inch of rainfall is about the same as 25 millimeters of rainfall, so you can do the math yourself. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let us focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So as stated, we have that low to mid-level flow of the clouds being steered from east to west across the Caribbean, all courtesy of the ridge of high pressure to the north. I know some of these clouds that are passing through definitely have some moisture within them, and we can take a closer look right here on the Doppler radar imagery of the northeastern Caribbean. Let's see what's happening over there by Puerto Rico as usual. Well, we see some isolated shores across eastern Puerto Rico, the waters to the north of Puerto Rico. We also see some isolated shores to the east of Antigua and Barbuda, Guadeloupe, Dominica. And if we load these images from earlier today, we can see that it was definitely raining across portions of eastern to central Puerto Rico, some moderate rainfall. We also see some rainfall coming into portions of Guadeloupe, St. John's right there. And regarding the Barbados radar, we can make out some of the isolated shores as well coming in from the east-northeast towards Barbados. Some of the isolated shore activity pushing towards sections of Martinique, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, Barbados. We also see some upper level flow right here pushing off of northern South America and pushing northeastward, but not much of anything with that. And regarding the weather view of Doppler radar images, we can see that streak of rainfall that affected portion of western Jamaica today pushing westward. You can also see that rainfall passing through the ABC Islands as well as to the waters north of there. You also see some rainfall right here across section of Colombia, eastern Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname right there. And regarding where the most rainfall is expected within the next 24 hours, clearly the most rainfall should be where we have the most colors. We're talking about the yellows, oranges, reds, purples. So definitely across portions of Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia, Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, French Guiana. That's where the most rainfall over the next 24 hours should be. While the greens into the yellows represent maybe some isolated shores, should be affecting portions of the eastern Yucatan, eastern Honduras, Nicaragua, sections of Jamaica, eastern and western Cuba, sections of Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, sections of the Leeward Islands, Guadeloupe, Dominica getting in on some of the action too, sections of Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago as well. And we can clearly see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in agreement with this forecast. I know that when they're in agreement like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.